What's good, YouTube? Bar back with Abdul Aesthetics. Today is a very special day. I'm out here in Wisconsin. I'm heading to Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I think that's how you say that. This video is not going to be very long. It's just going to be about tips that you can definitely use if you want to become an over-the-road truck driver. I'm just trying this out to make sure that I can continue to put videos up like this, so I'm just testing this out. Obviously, I'm driving, so it's going to be a little loud. You got the truck, and you got the wind smacking against the truck and stuff like that, so I got to speak a little bit louder to kind of get the point across so I can be over the noise. I'm gonna see if this works. If it works, I'll keep going. If not, hey, it was worth a shot. I've only been driving truck for about 7 months by myself, and I have learned a decent amount of information that could definitely help you out if you ever wanted to become an over-the-road driver, especially for a company. 9 times out of 10, if you start driving with no experience and no CDL, you're probably going to have to go through a company. That's where you're going to get your experience, and that's where you're going to learn what you need to learn. And then if you want to become an owner-operator, you can move forward with that with all the knowledge that you've gained. Here are 2 very important tips that you can use if you want to become an over-the-road truck driver. Over-the-road truck driving, you're going to be on the road for very long stretches of time. OTR stands for over the road. A lot of the situations that I talk about, you're going to be presented with, and you're going to have to know how to deal with them specifically and how to actively be proactive and reactive when it comes to dealing with shit like this. Tip number 1, come to terms with the fact that people, situations, and sometimes your company are going to piss you off. I need you to understand that. My old man told me the number 1 rule of truck driving is that if it makes too much sense, your dispatch will not do it. So you might have a different name for it. It might be a fleet manager, head of the fleet. Those are basically the people that deal with the logistics of the job when you become an over-the-road truck driver for a company. Now, that's just one part of it. You got to obviously deal with other drivers. You got to deal with other truck drivers, road conditions, weather conditions, animals running across the street. Definitely is something that you got to deal with. I'm in Wisconsin right now. Deer crossing signs all over the place, and so you got to watch out for stuff like that. Cars are going to cut you off. Cars are going to stop short in front of you. Cars are going to switch lanes without putting on their signal. These are things that you're going to have to deal with. Other truck drivers especially are going to make you wonder how the they got their CDL in the first place. As long as you are cognizant of the things that go on around you and how you are operating this truck in certain situations, you'll be better off, right? So understand that people are going to get in front of you, people are going to pull up on you, people are going to pull beside you because they feel like you may have done them wrong, when realistically, if you're following all the guidelines, all the street signs, and all the road signs that are around you at the time, the potential of you doing all the right things go up if you're paying attention, but you're still going to have people who are going to want to antagonize you because that's just what people do. Now, I ignore these people because at the end of the day, they don't want to get into anything really. They're just showing off because they're in a car, they're in a truck, and they feel protected, right? So you really got to ignore those types of people, but definitely keep in mind, things on the road are going to upset you, which leads me to my second tip. Do not drive this truck with your ego. Basically feeding off of the first one, when things upset you, the quickest emotion to get to when you're upset is anger, right? So when you get upset, you want to immediately allow your anger to take control. You can't do that, especially while you're driving the truck. In worst case scenario with a car, you might total loss your car, you might wreck your car, you might do all kind of crazy stuff. Hopefully you could walk away from something like that and that'll be the end of it. But when you're talking about truck driving, it takes these trucks a lot longer to stop versus cars. You're 10 times out of 10 carrying a lot heavier of a load driving a truck than any other vehicle. The decisions that you make based off of emotion can really yield some very catastrophic consequences, and you don't want that, right? So in this situation, when people upset you, when guys get in front of you without signaling, when they pull up very close to behind your truck, when they pull up to the side of you to try to antagonize you, when they stop short in front of you because they feel like you may have done them wrong, you have to be the bigger person in 100% of the situations when you're driving the truck. It doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter who's right or wrong. You have to be the bigger person because trust and believe, those guys do not care about their lives or the lives of other people. They feel as though you've done them wrong, so they want to get back at you by any means necessary. If that calls for you to, slow down a little bit, to gain some distance between you and them, do that. If that calls for you to get into the other lane so you can get away from them, do that. If that calls for you to do anything safely to get away from that person or to avoid that problem, do it, right? Now, you do have some situations with guys. I've personally never dealt with this situation, but there are instances that I've seen on YouTube, TikTok, and, you know, word of mouth talking to other truck drivers, especially other beginning truck drivers, where people will antagonize you to a certain degree where you might need to get the laws involved, where they'll pull up in front of you, they'll slow down to get you to slow down and try to get you to come out of your truck and try to, you know, throw things at your truck. Those are very rare situations, but they do happen. So in those situations, definitely get in contact with your company and call the police at your earliest convenience and when it's safe to do so. At that situation, they're trying to take it to a level that you don't need to be at, because you don't know what they got going on, and hell, they don't know what you got going on, but they don't really care, right? That is just the mindset of a lot of drivers on this road. One thing my trainer at the facility in which I train for this company told me is that when you start driving on your own, you're going to see a lot of crazy shit, a lot of shit that you didn't think is possible, you're going to see. Because the stuff that we see is very pedestrian. While we're driving our cars and stuff in the cities that we grew up in for 10, 20, 30 years, we see stuff all the time. But when you go to different cities, different states, different parts of the country, you realize that there's a lot of fucked up shit that goes on that you may not be ready for. So you have to be proactive and reactive, and above all else, you have to be the bigger person at all times. Because if you don't, the consequences could be deadly. Hopefully you use these tips. Get in the comment section, tell me if you like these types of videos, and I will definitely keep making them, because I literally drive for a living, so I'm always on the road, and there's plenty other tips and tricks that I can give you to the best of my knowledge, right? So with that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and until next time, deuce.